Tim?
Hey. You don't know that Tuesday, right? Isn't this book club day?
When Genius Failed. So I thought you were reading Dickens there for a second, but no.
When I can, but when the second quarter of 2020 turns in the best performance since the fourth quarter of 1998, and that's all people are talking about is what a great time it's been. It forces me to go back in history and remind everybody about the reason why the market rallied and did what it did in the fourth quarter of 1998. That was after 1997. You had the Asian financial crisis, which started with the fall of the Thai baht. It was a currency crisis that went around the world and ended up destroying Russia, which that then, along with volatility moves that went outside of a band that all these supposed geniuses were hedging against at long-term capital, blew up the biggest hedge fund in the world that was tied into the most powerful institutions on Wall Street. And suddenly we had hatched what is now the blueprint for Federal Reserve and central bank bailouts that ultimately killed the public. So if I seem a little bit, to use your term, exercised, this book is, to me, the beginning of the end. This book tells you about what led to the financial crisis of 2008. And this book tells you all about the foundation that went from 0809 straight to where we are today, which is why the market was up so much in the second quarter.
It's amazing, right? Long-term capital. I mean, a bunch of ex-Solly guys and gals went over there. They were
John Merriweather. I mean, these guys were the best and the brightest.
It's pretty incredible, the firm they put together. It's also pretty incredible that they almost took the system itself right down to its effectively its knees. And what I find even more amazing, and I don't remember the numbers, you actually told me what it was, but the number that it took to take care of that problem, and you can say it because it would be disingenuous if I said it.
3.625 billion. That's all. Not the couple trillion we've just tossed onto the Fed's balance sheet. 3.6 billion, 14 banks involved, essentially orchestrated by the New York Fed, who really was the one that played this role of the regional Fed banks, but was really the one tied into Wall Street, Bill McDonough. It was an all boys network. And there was no way these guys were going to go down.
Well, it's interesting. And if memory serves, this is 22 years ago. I was at Goldman at the time. And to your point, all these banks got pulled in. Bear Stearns balked at this, I think. It was either Bear
you got it, dude. This is an important detail. Keep going.
This is a very important detail because Bear Stearns walked away. And don't think for a minute that, 12, whatever it was, years later or so, Bear Stearns wasn't taken out to the woodshed, because people have long memories. And that's a great book that if you're looking to read something to sort of explain, if you want an explainer as to what's going on now, read that book. But Bear Stearns, basically, the die was cast when they walked away, and a decade or so later, you see what happened.
It was incredible. By the way, I was sitting in Moscow in the fall of 1998, having left a nice, safe job on Park Avenue with UBS, with a desire to get deep into emerging markets, and I had no idea how deep. But let's just say that by the time I got my stuff through customs and had greased a few customs officials to get my bags through, they had sacked the government, defaulted on $40 billion of GKO debt, and devalued the currency a few 100%. Now, that set the stage for one of the fantastic rallies in commodities and emerging markets. And we've talked about how the backdrop for commodities is very interesting here. I know, don't think about this as the fundamentals of supply demand in the oil sector. Think about the fact that commodities typically trade in 10 to 20 year cycles. They don't trade, and that's why commodities have been widow makers. But that presaged a great fall in the dollar, and the dollar fell. I don't know. It fell almost 30% from kind of the highs of where we settled out as we went through the dot-com blow-up. We went through 9/11, and remember, again, after the dot-com blow-up, which was just a year later, effectively, and that was fueled by, yes, excitement around the internet, but again, this excess liquidity, excess risk-taking, no accountability. Then we have 9/11. And then the Federal Reserve and the U.S. government are going to make sure nothing bad happens to the U.S. economy, because we weren't going to be kept down, right? Not after that. There was no one keeping us down. And it's just, it's extraordinary. Now, I realize that if I think back to 1998, Britney Spears, I know you're a big NSYNC fan. I know, I mean, don't you have a Timberlake poster, right?
If I could figure out how to use this little device that we film on, I would bring you into the room with my
Yeah.
JT poster. I'm a huge fan.
He's a huge fan of Fast Money, and
Huge Fast Money fan.
JT's one of those guys that the chicks like and the guys kind of think is cool.
He's like a Derek Jeter, for example.
Yeah.
Or if I may, a Scott Brocious. Now, why do I mention
I have
Scott
no
Brocious?
idea, dude. Dude, please
Because
get me home on this one.
I'm going to get you home on this. He was the World Series MVP in 1998 when the Yankees made short work of the San Diego Padres.
Was that when Wade Boggs was riding around on the horse he stole from a cop?
I thought that was the Braves World Series, but I might be mistaken.
I don't know.
I don't think Boggs was on that team, but who remembers?
Can you
Brocious,
imagine trying to wrestle a police man off his horse so you could take it for a little spin in today's world?
Well, I don't think he commandeered the horse as much as he got on the horse with said police officer on it.
Hey, you know what, man? I have nothing but memories of being holed up in my bar in the West Village, gathered around as big of a TV as there was at that time, rooting for the Yankees. It was an exciting time for baseball. It was an exciting time for our country because at that time we had no idea what we're up against. And I realize, as an old guy now, almost in his mid-50s, we look glowingly back at, something that's 22, 23 years ago. But it really was a different time in our country. It was pre 9/11. It was pre-financial crisis. There was just a very different approach to risk and fear. Maybe we're better off today. I don't want to go down that road, but let's talk about the second half.
The fact that so June 11th, you had that big sell-off in the market. The S&P closed a little bit north of 3,000. You had a subsequent run. We tested it last week, held it like a rock on Monday of this week. And now here we are back effectively at 3,100. I mean, the market is impervious. Apple says negative things, or there are negative stories about Apple. Doesn't matter. This COVID news doesn't seem to get any better. It seems to get worse. Doesn't matter. And I think the market maybe correctly says that, there's so much stimulus out there, so much money floating around that it's going to make its way into the market. It certainly feels that way. FedEx had a great quarter, and you can speak to that, but the margins in their two out of their three businesses, the two biggest businesses, the margins were ridiculous in a good way, which augurs well. Kudos to UBS, who raised their price target, I think, a week or so ago up to 154, and that's where we are right now.
That's been kind of a widowmaker. I've been on the wrong side of that trade for a while. I still hold it, and so I'm happy about it. Part of my argument was that transports and shippers tend to price in a recession well in advance. They talk about the leading indicators. They really and FedEx has been drubbed since Jan 2018 blow off top and underperformed the S&P by 60%. So is this suddenly a turnaround? No, because I think some of this is just based on cost savings from COVID. Vehicle replacement numbers are down. They're going to cut CapEx by $1 billion. The surge in residential delivery is important. Now, you worked for FedEx, right?
UPS, United Parcel Service.
Oh, right.
I was there for a day, and apparently I wore the wrong socks.
Do they actually outfit you with brown skivvies too?
Yes. When I went that day,
they do not. I'm joking. They didn't.
They
give
had
you
my
brown
locker
underwear.
all set up, and I had the whole. What can brown do for you?
Yeah.
The problem, of course, is I wasn't aware that you needed to wear the socks or part of the uni, and I had like white socks on. And I was just razzed the entire day by UPS employees. I mentioned this quickly.
Yeah.
I worked on the west side down by the Intrepid down there. They have a huge
dude, that's a rough
facility.
rough and tumble area, bro. I mean, that was not,
You could eat off the floors of that UPS facility. It was that clean.
I don't understand the color brown. Would you ever, like, you're at home on a Sunday, you're like, I want to go outside. Let me put on a brown sweater. Where did brown come from? I mean, I don't know, man.
I don't know the origin of what can brown do for you, but they have brown is their thing. I mean, good for them for embracing a color that it's sort of others leave on the side of the road. So maybe there's a genius in that.
I would like to see you break out some brown gear and wear it on commercial break with us tonight or the next time we're on. And let's close out 1998 with a market analogy. Do you think Britney Spears has an enormous amount of musical talent?
No.
Neither do I. But she was effectively number one in 1998, and there was no stopping her. And I think if you think about the market right now, don't get caught up in fundamentals. This may be Britney Spears time, and if it is, hit me, baby, one more time.
Except that there was a dark period for Britney, as you remember as well. We'll talk tomorrow.
All right, later.